Remember, we are bad in December. Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. As always, mate, I do hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. And welcome back to Chelsea news / I suppose, a match preview for the big Champions League game against Atalanta away in Italy. Huge game, actually, if you consider where we are on the table and our run of form. So yes, we're going to speak about the striker situation. Liam Delap's out for a couple of months with a shoulder injury. The Emmanuel Omega conflicting stories in the headlines. And do we have enough? What will become of us? Well, we'll discuss it all in this video today, and I'll tell you my lineup that I've built for this game against Atalanta. Hugely important indeed. But welcome back, friends. So pleased to have you here with me. If you want to support the content, simply like and subscribe on YouTube, or indeed if you're listening, follow and 5-star, I suppose. You're always welcome to share, and I'm very, very pleased to have you here on Football Therapy, so welcome aboard. Yes, the vibes aren't up at the moment, but as they did say on Match of the Day, we are an exciting young team, and a good season could still happen for us. A frustrating draw away at Bournemouth, a 0-0, although you could, pluck some positives, that being we seem to have a good defence when Wesley Fofana and Trevoh Chalobah play next to each other. We seem to be defensively resolute. Our goalkeeper seems to be becoming a serious goalkeeper, which, touch wood, I don't want to jinx that. Let's just sort of let that keep percolating in the background. But we need goals. And of course, Pedro Neto's been a good contributor this season, but we need the likes of Garnacho and Gittins to start putting in some goals. Cole Palmer, of course, is naturally going to be rusty after his first start in over 2 months, so he will of course find form again. But the big problem at the moment is centre forward. Now, before I show you this graphic on the screen, I like our striker options for different reasons, but it doesn't necessarily mean I accept him as good enough for Chelsea's starting striker at the moment. I think Joao Pedro is a very talented, good forward. He's always been a streaky forward in terms of goal scoring. He'll score like 5 and 7, then he won't score for like 10. Hopefully this is something he could change in his career. He's still only 23. I think both him and Delap are 23. I do like Delap. I feel like when Delap plays, he does more centre forward-y things, if that makes sense, in terms of holding the ball up, getting into a scrap, which can be both good and bad, but he can also help the team up the pitch, drag the team up the pitch. We have not, look, make no bones about it, we've not seen the best of Chelsea's number 9 yet in a Chelsea shirt. Delap's coming in and out with injury, and of course he's been very unlucky to get another one. And Mark Gu, the young, lovable teenager Mark Gu, he's a bit of a battering ram. He's a bit of a pressing, wrecking ball, if you will. A lot of people like him, but I don't think he's like the solution, and he's going to score a lot of goals for Chelsea. Now, check out this graphic courtesy of Match of the Day. Now, for those of you who are listening, it shows Joao Pedro, Liam Delap, and Mark Gu in the Premier League this season. 15 games for Joao Pedro, 8 games for Liam Delap, and 7 for Mark Gu. As you can see, it's 14 starts for Joao Pedro, so only 1 substitute appearance. It's only 6 starts for Liam Delap, and to be entirely fair to Mark Gu, it's only 1 start. But there's a lot of minutes between them. There are how many? Ooh, let me work this out. There's 30 appearances between them. That's right, 30 appearances between them, and only 4 goals. And all 4 of those goals are coming from Joao Pedro. So 30 appearances, 4 goals. Now, Joao Pedro, this was at the very beginning of the season when he was playing really well, I suppose, running off the high of a good Club World Cup, joining Chelsea. And maybe this, is exactly what I was talking about in terms of being a streaky player. Joins Chelsea, comes off a Brazilian beach in the summer, has a wonderful fairy tale story at the Club World Cup, bangs in a bunch of goals, starts the season strong, and then just immediately goes off the boil again. Now, to be completely fair, he's got the bulk of the minutes. He's got basically 1,200 minutes. Liam's only got 350, and Mark Gu's only got 235, and he's, playing those minutes off the bench when his other teammates are tired, and he's not developing the on-field chemistry, so it's hard to judge Mark Gu. I think has he got an assist? Yeah, he's got an assist, Mark Gu, which, Liam Delap doesn't have a goal or assist, and if you remember, that was a great assist from Gu. So, yeah, Gu's fine, he's doing what's expected of him, he's a teenager, he's a filling-in player for the moment, he was supposed to have a great developmental loan at West Sunderland, Sunderland, who's kind of a shame, really, that we brought him back because they're having a great time, and I think he would have been rotated in and out and probably felt more important. I don't know, maybe he feels important here at Chelsea because we don't have many strikers and he's a striker. Mark Yu, though, is underperforming his XG. He's got nearly 1.5 XG, and maybe an elite Chelsea striker squeezes a couple of goals out of 1.5. He's got 0. Liam Delap's got 0.78. I mean, that's probably worth a goal for an elite finisher. And Joao Pedro is actually underperforming his XG. Not massively. It's 4.36 is his XG, and he's got 4 goals. So it's a small underperformance, but that's not my biggest complaint with Joao Pedro. Is he's played all these minutes and he's not getting into shooting positions. He doesn't take shots. That was my biggest criticism of Joao Pedro, especially when he was playing as a striker over and over. He just wasn't in shooting positions. We enjoyed watching him in the Club World Cup scoring goals. Again, starting the season strongly, getting 4 Premier League goals, but then completely going off the boil. Now, is the manager faultless in this? Absolutely not. He's got to find a way to get the best out of these players. But to be fair, to be completely fair to him, in isolation, these 3 players, Gu, Delap and Joao Pedro, he's not been given a prolific, goal-hungry monster. To be honest, out of the 3 of them, I would say Liam Delap's your biggest banker for goals in terms of what he did for Ipswich, how he performed in terms of his XG to goal return, how he was shooting on sight against big teams. You know, Joao Pedro's never been a prolific goal scorer. Mark Yu's still a teenager. You know, we basically plucked him out of La Masia in Barcelona. So really, out of those guys, it is Chelsea's number 9, Liam Delap, who's had 1 senior season in the Premier League. So, you know, in defence of Enzo Maresca, he's not been given, like, you know, I know he's not doing well at Arsenal, but Gyökeres, I don't massively rate him, but he is a good finisher. Or, you know, an Erling Haaland, or even just another striker like a Serhou Guirassy, who's not really high profile, but is just used to scoring goals all the time at a high level. He's not been given that player. He's been given these young players who are profiled as talented, high ceiling, you know, players, and trying to sort of cultivate a good goal scorer out of them. It's really actually quite tough, but the Premier League's super hard, and you try and get goals from across the pitch. Chelsea will need that. You know, your Reece Jameses, you know, Cucurella maybe chipping in again. We know Enzo Fernandez has scored a bunch of goals in, you know, 2025 in terms of, like, you know, the year rather than the season. And then your wingers. I think really we need our wingers to start chipping in. Like, you know, Steva will score the odd goal, will do the odd amazing moment, but really you want to see, I mean, Neto gets a free pass because he scored. I think he's like our joint top scorer in the Premier League, and if you're a winger, that's great. So Neto gets a free pass. He's doing a lot of hard work running up and down. Certainly his off the ball work is a lot better than the likes of Joao Pedro from what I've seen this season. So, you know, Neto absolutely gets a pass, but all them other men, you know, really needs to step up their game. And indeed the manager needs to find a way to get the best out of them. But of course, a big discussion has been about the striker situation. Will Chelsea move in January? And lots of headlines have said we're going to, what I speculated yesterday, are we going to bring Omega back early? For example, this article here on Team Talk says the following: Chelsea accelerate a move for 6'5" Dutch powerhouse as sources reveal Maresca's response to cruel injury blow. So this is Graham Bailey, who's a reputable journalist, writing, Chelsea are accelerating a move and we're considering bringing Emmanuel Omega in early. This is precisely what I spoke about in yesterday's content, that this is something we could look at. But if you look at Kieran Gill on the Daily Mail, who also is a reputable journalist who has good Chelsea information, he says the following: Chelsea are not set to accelerate Emmanuel Omega's arrival from Strasbourg in January, despite Liam Delap's new injury, and this is what they've been told. And of course, Kieran Gill has good information. He often, you know, speaks about Chelsea stuff, though I don't like the newspaper itself. You know, it is a sort of very tabloidy, historically tacky headline stuff. He's got good information, and he's saying, no, Chelsea are keeping Emmanuel Omega at Strasbourg, so the Strasbourg fans will be pleased to learn that. To be honest, it's probably best for him. He's playing well, he's scoring goals. To be thrown into a team in the middle of the season is so tough for especially strikers. A striker or a goalkeeper, when you buy one in January, it's incredibly hard to get and very expensive, and you overpay massively, especially for those profiles, goalkeeper and striker, unless maybe there is a player with 6 months left on their deal that are going to go on a free, they're in good form, and you can like just convince the selling club, say, look, I know this guy's really good and scoring goals for you, but you're going to lose him on a free. We'll pay you 30 million quid, something that seems insane for, you know, a player with 6 months left on their deal. And 30 million quid, you know, that might be a massive waste of money in that instance, but if you were desperately trying to get a striker, I'm kind of making up a scenario here, do you know what I mean? So yeah, it would probably take Emmanuel a little while to settle into the Chelsea first team, to understand what Enzo Maresca wants of him, and it probably is better for him to stay, which leaves Chelsea at the moment, for me, with Mark Gue as the only really recognised centre-forward profile available at the moment, for a devastatingly intense campaign with Champions League and top-level Premier League football. You know, it's pretty bad, man. I mean, I'm even thinking of, like, let's see what Shim Weka's doing. Certainly in the cup games, you need to give Shim a go, because, look, Pedro Neto at false nine, he's done, like, a good job, really. But it's tough, man. Like, just there's something about having a big, proper striker, old school centre forward in there, that makes you feel a little bit more comforted that you can occupy centre backs, that you can run the channels, and heck, above all, their whole life, what have they been doing? They've been scoring goals. They're not like tricky wingers that have got all this tactical information that, you know, rely on tricks and 1-2s and, you know, beating your man. No, their instincts are, I hit this ball in that goal all the ruddy time, mate. That's what I do. That's what I do best. You know, like an Erling Haaland. I know they are a rare breed. But as the January transfer window comes by, despite the briefings of, oh no, Chelsea are just going to see within, we're not going to buy someone, I will be very interested to learn that as, you know, time goes on, maybe if there's a, quote, market opportunity striker that develops, I think Chelsea might consider it personally. I don't know, because like, Emmanuel Omega's coming to replace Nico. Is Mark Gue going to be at Chelsea? Is it just going to be Omega and Delap next season? I mean, they're two good options, but can we rely on Delap? Can we rely on Omega? Is there a striker that will become available that would want to come to Chelsea? We will see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and let's move on and talk about Chelsea away at Atalanta in the Champions League. So this is the lineup they put out last time they played in Europe, when they beat Eintracht Frankfurt 3-0 away from home, which is very, very impressive, you have to say. They, of course, played their famous 3-4-3 formation, scored loads of goals here. Ademola Lookman is the star player, of course, scoring loads of goals. We knew him. He played at Everton in the Premier League, didn't he? But since then, at Atalanta, he's been scoring hat-tricks in European finals, winning African Player of the Year. They are a really good team, and this will be really, really tough. Of course, Chelsea old boy Davide Zappacosta playing at left wing back there. Lovely stuff. And yes, lots of good players, and basically a tough examination for Chelsea. Now look, the good news is, if we win this game, we'll be in business, because we have, Pathos at home after that, and, you know, it's a Cypriot side, and, you know, Chelsea at home have been quite good, and you'd kind of put the farm on Chelsea winning that. So if we win this game, and then that game, we go to Napoli on the final league phase game of the league phase, and essentially don't need anything, and we will be in the top 8. I think, because I think we'll have like 16 points or something like that. I think you needed 15 last season to be in the top 8. So you beat this, you then hopefully, touch wood, you know, beat the banker at Paphos at home. And then, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully, you know, we go away to Antonio Conte and you know, Romelu Lukaku, the ghosts of past, and we don't have to be like, oh God, we've got to beat them. Hopefully we do. But Maresca at that point might be like, right, well, we're in the top 8 no matter what. I'm going to rotate. You know, Mark Gue, have a start in Naples, see how you get on. You know, Estevao starts in high-profile games anyway. But do you know what I mean? A nice rotation. Who knows? Philip Jorgensen in goal against Romelu Lukaku would be pretty funny. But this will be a tough examination. Now, I'm going to switch over to the stats page now and talk you through my chosen lineup. Let's take a look at that now. Right, as you can see, I'm going pretty darn strong because we have to. One thing you will notice is Moises Caicedo, of course, definitely starting in the midfield, not banned for Champions League games, and well rested. Poor Marc Cucurella, though, doesn't get any rest because who else is going to play for him at left back? Again, if they're fit and, you know, they pass the fitness test, both Chalobah and Fofana have to keep that partnership going, because this is a, you know, must not lose, dare I say must win game, or certainly makes our life so much easier if we win this game. I am resting Captain Reece James though, because we have been playing him a lot and he does need to be managed. Maybe he can come off the bench, but because we've got Caicedo back in midfield, I'm partnering him with Andre Santos in this high-profile European game and, you know, putting Gusto at right back. But I see the midfield of Santos, Caicedo, and Enzo Fernandez as a robust midfield. I'm not going to start Cole Palmer here. Many of you will think, well, start Palmer, you know, to get his, you know, confidence up and cook. I'd give him 30 minutes off the bench against this team personally, and then maybe, you know, he'll start in the Premier League again on the weekend. I think Cole will feature, but I would want to start Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and Santos in midfield. And look, if you bring off Reece James and Cole Palmer off the bench, you know, you're bringing off some serious talent and firepower. Estevao, I think he's perfect for these European-style games. If you can get him behind the wing-back, I think he's a banker to start on the right wing. I'm going to give Jamie Gittins a go. Again, he's one man of the match in the Champions League games for both Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund. So he plays really well in Europe. Garnacho had good moments, but I've got to go with Jamie Gittins. I'm giving Pedro Neto a bit of a rest. Again, he could be one of the superstars off the bench. He may well start. This is probably a little bit more what I want to see personally, what I expect to see. And yes, Joao Pedro, after, you know, slagging him off early doors in the video, I am going to give him the start here to play in Europe, to just try and score some goals. But of course, we can see, again, substitute. We could see Mark Yu come off the bench. Lots of good, high-quality available players off the bench. Like, if your five substitutions in this game are Reece James, Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, you know, and then you can add like Gu and Garnacho or something. You're cooking with gas, theoretically. So that is my starting lineup away at Atalanta. Now, how do I feel about this? Well, I am actually feeling pretty positive about the Chelsea defense. They are playing well. Rob Sanchez genuinely seems to be in the form of his career, so credit to him, hoping he can keep that up. The more minutes we see Chalobah and Fofana play together, the more they will build up a formidable relationship, and maybe Levi Cole will be getting a little bit twitchy in the medical rooms and watching Chalobah cultivate an amazing relationship with Fofana. But of course, you know, I do think if Levi gets full fitness and his previous form back, he's an undeniable starter for Chelsea. So, but I want to see those two start again. I want to see Santos given a chance. We know now Santos plays a bit deeper. He's not going to play in that Enzo Fernandez pocket, so I see him partnering with Caicedo. I feel, and because Caicedo's fully rested and in there, I feel pretty good about our defense in this game against a real. I know they lost last time out at home at Atalanta. I don't know how strong their lineup was. But I do basically fancy Chelsea to maybe keep them down to at least one goal at home or something. And I think we can win. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea away win in the Champions League, which will put us in a hugely positive position for, you know, the next game to get 3 points at home against a much less fancy team. And then for the final game of the league phase, we'll be sitting pretty. Fingers crossed! And we need the vibes to be up, guys, because even though it was a good feeling against Arsenal, playing well with 10 men, the last 2 games have been very poor. Leeds, I don't need to open up that nightmare again. That was harrowing. I mean, Bournemouth was boring AF. But I watched a match of the day. Obviously, I pulled that screenshot from them. But they sort of said both managers were sort of happy to take the point and move on. And I felt like quite repelled by that as, you know, for Chelsea manager. But then again, Bournemouth have been a formidable opponent before. It is another away day in a row. We are so bad in December. Maybe he thinks 1 point's better than none, you know. It's really Leeds is the awful. Leeds is the awful result. I know they got a result against Liverpool and they performed well against Man City when switching to their back three. So the context is key here. But ultimately, it was still terrible, the Leeds result, purely because we were out-muscled and we didn't take it seriously. So yes, let me know your thoughts, guys. Leave them down in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you are listening on podcast platforms, please do review kindly those sweet 5 stars, follow and share. That would be nice, yeah? And other than that, guys, keep it locked. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully see you soon. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.